Our previous segment is going to be for the second match that the United States women's national team is going to be facing off against Paraguay. And we kind of content planned this a little bit, Lisa, just to sort of give our listeners a bit of look into the content planning, right, that we're doing. We're like, geez, it's like, we did this recap. We had a great live, post game live reactions to the first game. We had a lot of participation in that one. It was great to sort of see people hop on and engage with us a bit while we were doing the recap. And we thought to ourselves, how are we going to, preview this for this next game? Considering the game that we just recapped was a 9-0 blowout. What's going to be within there for us to look at? So we thought a fun thing for us to do together with our listeners is throw out some U.S. Women's National Team lineups. And these aren't necessarily going to be predictions, but a little bit about kind of like a wish list, basically, like what we would like to see in a second game against a team that you literally just, kind of blew out of the water, just a couple nights ago, basically. So I'm gonna go first since I'm leading the charge here, and then Lisa, you can hit me with what you got, and I feel like I won't be surprised if there are some similarities.
I agree. I will see. I'm sure we'll see some similarities, but I love this wish list starting lineup because really there's no wrong answers.
Yeah. We're just talking. We're just having a good time. So the game is going to be taking place on Tuesday, September the 21st in Cincinnati, the hometown of Rose Lavelle. So I'm already giving a little bit of foreshadowing there, probably in terms of what I want to see in my midfield. But, in terms of what I would like to see the coaching staff put out there, I think we're both going to be in agreement. I already have Jane Campbell in that. When we took a look at this initial roster announcement, we saw 2 goalkeepers get called in to this, and we're like, hey, 2 games, each of them should get 90 minutes. Let's go. So Jane Campbell is getting the start for me. In terms of the back line, I would like to see a little bit of rotation. Crystal Dunn deserves a break, so she is not in my back line. So I do have Casey Kruger, Tierna Davidson. I do have Becky Sauerbrunn again because I am selfish and I would like to see her possibly get a goal. We saw her knocking a little bit in the first game, so I want Becky Sauerbrunn to get a start again selfishly. And I have Emily Sonnet closing out the back line there just because Kelly O'Hara ended up going, playing the extended minutes that she did in the first game. Now for the midfield, I kind of had some mixed feelings here. I was like, well, yes, Crystal Dunn deserves a rest, but I also selfishly want to see her in the midfield. So I don't have her starting in the midfield right now, but I do in my mind, in Sandra's mind, she's absolutely a midfield candidate, prospect in this particular.
So she's coming off the bench for you, but she'll
coming off the bench
the midfield.
Yeah, okay. It's a short turnaround. It's a quick
so
turnaround.
We're doing subs too. I love this.
Let's get into it. So I have Andy Sullivan getting a second consecutive start. I just feel like she had a great game and she got called into these camps for a reason. So give her the start again. But alongside of that, the hometown kid giving Rose Lavelle the start in this one. And I'd like to see Katarina Macario in this midfield as well for the team moving forward. And in terms of the top line, I'm going with a little bit more experience. Tobin Heath came off of the bench in the first game. I'd like to see her get a start in this one alongside the other veteran, Carly Lloyd. Quite frankly, it's her farewell tour, so going to see her get the start. And I'd like to see Sophia Smith get the start up top with them as well and just sort of see what the 3 of them can do early on in the game.
Sandra, I'm surprised you didn't have all 3 Red Stars starting. You had Casey Kruger, Tierna Davidson, but no Mal Pugh. What? 3 assists isn't good enough for you in the last game?
It's too good. It's too good. And I'm like, you know what? You deserve a break.
No, I respect that. Okay. So you'll have in the midfield, you'll have Andy Sullivan as more of your defensive 6.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when Crystal Dunn rotates in, who's coming out?
Probably Lavelle.
Even though it's her hometown?
Yeah. Give her the send-off. Give her a little wave.
I just like to ask the hard questions here.
I mean, the game's not hard. It's an exhibition game, so it's not a hard question to me. It's like, okay, let her get the wave, let her get the applause, let her get the walk off.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good call.
Yeah.
But as a player, it hurts a little bit to be like, oh, I don't get to play the full 90. I don't get to finish this out when we have only 4 midfielders available.
Listen, look, they know what these games are. They know what they're about. They know that they are in the middle of a club season with a playoff push. Laura Harvey knows the U.S. women's national team. I'm sure those conversations have been had long before these games even got kicked off. So they're going to rather be paying attention to minutes for sure.
Yes, of course, because they're in a big playoff push already right now.
But yeah,
okay, I like your lineup.
I want to hear yours. I'm curious to see if we've got similar, besides Jane Campbell. I'm curious to see if we got other similar things.
How do you know I want to start Jane Campbell?
Okay, well, give me the.
I do. No, I definitely want to start Jane Campbell.
Right.
She deserves it. I've been saying this since we first found out about this roster. You only have 2 keepers and 2 matches against the same country in Paraguay. They both deserve 90 minutes in goal because that never happens with goalkeepers. And instead of just throwing Campbell in there when you need her, give her the start and show her that she has the confidence to play in goal. So yes, I have Jane Campbell in goal. I am starting Casey Kruger as well outside on the left back position. And I like to have Abby Dahlkemper and Becky Sauerbrunn in my middle. And then Sonnet on the outside right. I think Emily Sonnet is a player that can do better than we've seen. Because when we do see her on the pitch, she usually doesn't give us that much. And I think it's often the situation she's thrown into. But you could say that for any player and they make the most of it and they play better than that. But I think a player like Emily Sonnet, she's clearly showing something in these training camps because she keeps being called back time and time again into these national team rosters. But I, Lisa Robin, haven't seen what Black Wandanowski sees from her yet. And I want to see it. So throwing her alongside Becky Sauerbrunn in the center back position with the starting lineup, I think we could get something really good out of Sonnet. So that's my back line. Then in the midfield, yes, we have to start Rose Lavelle. I'm also starting Andy Sullivan because she had a great game, so she'll be the defensive. Rose Lavelle, hometown girly, she gets the start. And Crystal Dunn, she's getting the start in the midfield for me.
Right on.
I want to see that. She plays the midfield for Portland Thorns. She's an attacking-minded player.
Yeah.
She is. And for some reason, at the national level, they've pigeonholed her into the back line. Because she's so good,
yeah.
I understand, but she can provide so many great looks up top. And I think she's less of a liability because she's going to defend like heck in the midfield.
Yeah.
So that's my midfield 3, Sullivan, Lavelle, and Dunn. Then up top, Carly Lloyd, of course, alongside Sophia Smith and Mal Pugh.
Okay. I
want to see what the young, energetic duo of Smith and Pugh can look like alongside someone like Carly Lloyd, who last time the U.S. played against Paraguay had some 64 touches on 5 goals. I think that's pretty magical.
I'm into it. I like both. I like both of these lineups, quite frankly. I like that in our scenarios, no matter even though they're different little scenarios, the concept is still there. Like we absolutely want to see Crystal Dunn in the midfield in some capacity for the United States women's national team. We cover the league on this podcast. We have seen week in, week out what Crystal Dunn provides for the Portland Thorns side. We have seen what Crystal Dunn has provided for teams in the past as she's played higher, whether it was with North Carolina Courage or when she was with Washington Spirit. She is a brilliant attacking-minded player. And so if you have enough depth, if you do have enough capable depth at defense, I don't see where the struggle is in terms of the conflict, let's say, in terms of being able to start maybe pushing her a little bit higher, as 2022 is on the horizon and this team really does start to take a look at 2023 World Cup. The fact that there are so many missing midfielders right now in these two friendlies is the time to do that, quite frankly.
Right. Let her have some fun. You're going to get the win anyway, Vlatko.
Yeah, I know we both would love to see it. And then so I guess that raises those questions still about the back line where it's like, oh, well, what happens at outside? You know, this back line has become so reliant on somebody like a Crystal Dunn, where the narrative was maybe almost similar during the Olympics, where in the midfield, where it was like, oh my gosh, like this midfield has become so reliant on a Julie Ertz. Like, what does that mean for the midfield, right? So I think the similar storyline is echoed, I think, maybe with the back line and the outside back position specifically. But I wouldn't I wouldn't hate like some rotation around the back line either. Maybe not even just the center back position, because you know, Tierna Davidson has also played outside back as well. She has gotten very, very limited minutes at that position, but we've seen it happen in game time scenarios. Not so much in the start, but we've seen it in game time scenarios where she's been shifted over. Same with club. Have seen it with the Chicago Red Stars as well. And I wouldn't hate if that happened in this game either. Seeing somebody like Tierna Davidson at outside back and maybe flipping the script a little bit and pushing Emily Sonnet back into center back, which quite frankly is a stronger position for her in terms of defensive positions where she lines up. I know there are some coaches out there who think that an argument can be made for her as a bit of a defensive six as well. But her bread and butter has typically been at a center back position. So I wouldn't hate maybe flipping that a little bit and seeing that as well.
So you would put Tierna Davidson left back or right back? Alongside Kruger being the other back, outside back.
I think Kruger is the more capable and fluid outside back. So I would be fine seeing her at either for Kruger being. So if they want to push, if they want to see Tierna Davidson see if she's capable of getting more involved in an attack, I wouldn't mind if this was the game where they wanted to see her get on the left-hand side.
Okay, so Davidson on the left.
Yeah, why not? And let's see what she does alongside maybe somebody like with a Tobin Heath or something. I wouldn't.
Ooh, that could be fun. I would like to see that, and I think Davidson on the outside would be good, especially in this game where, assuming they're probably not going to have that much defensive pressure. There'll be some.
I was going to say, this is the game to do it.
Heck yeah. And then when you look at the front line and the rotation between the forwards, now our front lines were different. You had Tobin Heath, Carly Lloyd, and Sophia Smith. I had Sophia Smith, Carly Lloyd, and Mel Pugh. My first rotation off the bench, probably at 45, probably at half, I'd take Carly Lloyd out.
That's fair.
Throw in a Lynn Williams, and I'd have Smith, Williams, and Mal Pugh for a few minutes. Give them probably until the 60-minute mark.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think in
chaos that causes.
I think in like a non Carly Lloyd tour that absolutely happens. I think they'll have to, pay her to come off of the yes. Be like, we'll give you a bonus if you sub off at half. I just think like and
she's gonna be like, no, I'll pay you to stay on.
Yeah, like it's just like the competitor in her is gonna be like, okay, so I'm starting, so I'm going 90, right? I just think that's like might be how it plays out. But I'm with you though, in that if there is an opportunity and if there is a scenario in which Sophia Smith, Mal Pugh, and Lynn Williams get on the pitch together at the same time, it would be like an absolute delight. So I would love to see it as well.
I'd be so giddy.
I would too. But these were just like a wish list 5. We wanted to come on here and say this is what we would like to see. Let us know, folks. Let us know, listeners, what you would like to see. and we'll see if we'll compare. We'll come back in the recap and see if we got any of this, if we were able to actually predict anything. But just as a reminder, this United States Women's National Team match will be played on Tuesday, September 21st at 7:30 Eastern Central Standard Time. Eastern Standard Time in Cincinnati, Ohio. Gosh, that's a mouthful. Lisa and I are going to go live again after that match. We're going to be on YouTube right after the match, post whistle with your first reactions once again. So please join us, everybody. Come. We had people coming and hanging out and giving us some love and giving us some question and had some good dialogue going on in the chat there. So please join us at youtube.com/attacking third.